I'll just start with your reflections on the Easter weekend and a win and a draw, but two pretty contrasting games overall.
Yeah, that's fair to say. I think I said after the game, after the previous four games, would we have took 4 points? Potentially so, but we didn't play particularly well in a very bitty game on Monday. Watching it back, there was an awful amount of stoppages, so we couldn't get a head of steam going. When we made the changes, I thought it helped our performance. So there's something for me to learn from that. Maybe should have left the team alone for the second game and just gone with it. So I'll take my responsibility for that side, but there were still things that we could do better in the second game. But I would say it's a positive that we've gone a goal down and come back to equalise and finish certainly the stronger team and have more chances to score. And I think it's a game on chances we should have won, but we can't say that we played our part in a quality game of football. So we have to hold our hands up for that. But the players worked hard, they tried hard, and I thought they got at least what they deserved from it.
There were obviously no Andy Cook or Kevin McDonald over the weekend. How are they now? Are they going to be available for this coming game?
They trained today, which is positive, so we have to see how they respond to that tomorrow and make sure that they're okay to continue training towards the end the weekend. But they seem fine in their training session today. So fingers crossed.
I'll just go through some of the other injuries, which I know can be a bit arduous at times. But Alex Gillett first, how's he coming along?
He's just coming along in his rehab. I think he was out on the grass with the physio on his own, doing a little bit of grass work. So that's a step forward for him. I think it wasn't a major injury that he got. We were looking at 2 to 3 weeks anyway. So I think he's on course for his return to training play as we predicted. And obviously the weekend I think will be too early for him, but hopefully next week he'll be back in our group.
Ash Taylor and Sam Stubbs?
Sam's still missing, unfortunately, and Ash was going to train with us today, but we had to be on the 4G, so it was difficult for him to train today. So if we'd have been on grass, he'd have been with us, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So I think he'll be with us before the weekend, but he's obviously missed a big chunk, and it's really difficult to put players straight into contention as we've seen in the last few months. They take a bit of time to get up to speed, and we don't want to risk any further injury at this stage or at any stage really. But we'll see how he is.
And Alex Patterson, is he a chance at all to return before the end of the season, or?
I thought we got to the bottom of the list there, but Pato. Could he, if we really pushed him? I think he could potentially return before the end of the season. Is the risk worth it when he's been out for so long? To get maybe 1 or 2 games, I'm not so sure. So he trained twice with us last week, but a little bit managed, and has to have a recovery day in between. I think it'd be a long shot for him to play for us this season. It's not something we're particularly pushing hard for right now because we feel he'll be a really important player for us, and we don't want a recurrence of what's happened to him this season.
I guess with a player like him that's had that long injury spell, it is a case of mitigating the risk, isn't it? And especially with so few games to go. Yeah,
because we really managed it so carefully last time. He was training with us for quite a while, quite a few weeks before we actually dipped him into a couple of games, and still then it was only 20-30 minutes. We never got to the point of starting him, and still he had a recurrence. So, that gives us food for thought going with our decision making going forward. And I believe if we don't have to take that risk, then we won't. And I think we'll have a safer return for Pato, come pre-season and everything. So, he's chomping at the bit and he wants to do that, but he wants to play a long part for us and not just a one game or something like that. So we'll probably look after him.
Just looking slightly further down the line, Graham, and with the wider squad, and I appreciate there's probably only so much you can say on this subject, but how far along are you with starting to make decisions on certain players for next season and other sort of summer plans as well?
Well, we've got a meeting tomorrow as a group of staff to talk through the squad and what we hope it to look like for next season. But we want to finish this season strongly, as strong as possible. But we have to start having these discussions in-house first, obviously, and put our opinions and ideas across. So it's early stages yet, because obviously we were concentrating hard on the games and still chasing something that was in front of us. And but we're going to start having those conversations tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there.
There's obviously been a new addition as well this week to that sort of football operations group in David Sharp. Just first of all, what do you make of that appointment of David?
Yeah, I think it's a positive one. I think I spoke to Ryan maybe 10 days ago. And I think I mentioned that we spoke after the Harrogate game about how all we were thinking about was how do we make Bradford City a better football club and take it forward. And obviously Ryan went to see Stefan as well, and then we had a further conversation about what we feel we can do. Ryan spoke about David and his potential joining us and how it would look, the role and everything to support everything we do here. So I was more than positive about it. And then I spoke to David yesterday for an hour or so on the phone, and then we'll meet up tomorrow at the meeting to formally sit down and have a chat about what we think going forward. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's still obviously very, very early stages because it was only announced today, and I only spoke to David personally yesterday. And but as we go over the next month or so towards the end of the season, we'll get to know each other much better, and we'll sort of define the sort of the relationship, how it works between us all. Myself, David, Stephen Gent, Ryan, and then take it forward.
That conversation you had with him yesterday, is that the first time that you've actually met him, or have you come across him previously in your career, Graham?
I've not met him personally. Obviously, I've played against his teams when he was at Wigan, when he was a chairman. My Scunthorpe team competed against his teams then, but not personally, no. So yesterday was the first time I had the opportunity to speak to him. It was a really positive chat.
From what you sort of know at this point, what's your working relationship going to look like? How involved is he going to be with what you do and vice versa as well?
Yeah, he's here to support. He made that clear to me yesterday that he's here to support me and the rest of the staff in helping Bradford improve as a football club, and however that looks, it's like when you come in as a manager, you look at everything, you sort of get your ideas, and it takes a little bit of a while before you get your bearings and understand how things work, because all clubs are different. They all have different ideas, different philosophies, and different structures. So I think David will first of all be understanding how this club works, I think, is the most important thing, and then obviously how he can support me in my role and the other people in the role like Stephen and like Ryan. And I think he brings a wealth of experience from his time at Wigan and Mansfield, and so hopefully he can bring similar success to us.
Looking ahead to the weekend then and Gillingham, they're another team that are sort of in that cluster of teams that are still pushing for the playoffs. What do you make to them at the minute? They're obviously coming off the back of a pretty heavy defeat as well against Harrogate. Yeah,
I think they've been. We obviously played them early in the season, and we had a fantastic victory down there. And they've changed their team, their shape a little bit in the last few weeks. So. That might change again before the weekend, but they've got some good players, and Stephen Clement's a very experienced coach, and it's his first job and he's doing a really good job. So the challenge will be the same as most weeks in League Two, where everyone's fighting for the points for their own reasons. So we want to try and continue where we have sort of left off in the last two games, and sort of extend those periods of good play and creating opportunities and take advantage of those. So we have to build on what we've done in the last couple of games.
And just finally from me, Graham, regardless of what the table's saying at the moment in the next few weeks, how important for you is it to finish the season on a strong note, when it comes to sort of personal pride and that sort of thing?
I've said it many times. I think that from pre-season right the way through to bounce games to for reserve games, league games, cup games, it never changes the will to win. It should never change. It shouldn't anyway. It should always be there, that determination to win a game of football. But as soon as you pull that shirt on, you're representing the football club. You're representing yourself, everybody else that's connected to you. So all those things are always apparent every time you cross over the white line for a game of football. So I don't differentiate between competitions, between stages of seasons. I think it's important always to try and win. You can't always guarantee that, obviously, and no one can do that, but it's important always to try. So the biggest thing for us is, we've had a really difficult spell, and we've started to climb out of it with 4 points in the last two games. The importance of the game Saturday is the same as the last couple. We want to go and try and put on a performance for the supporters and try and win the game. It's that mantra will never change from my side.
Thanks, Graham. Best of luck at the weekend.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Hi, Graham.
Hi, mate.
As you were saying, obviously about that mantra of keeping it going. I mean, have you noticed with the players, is there a sort of sense that perhaps a little weight's been lifted after the last couple of performances, given what had happened the previous couple of weeks?
Yeah, I do. I think, we tried straight away certainly after the Harrogate game to put it into perspective, put it into what it was, and then make sure that everybody's eyes were looking forward and rather than looking back. And I think the players responded well to that with the 4 points. I think that's how we always like to work. We don't dwell on anything in the past. We learn from it. We try and improve on it, all the time. Those things don't change, but we certainly don't dwell on anything from previous. We have to focus on what we're good at, try and improve that if we can, and finish the season as strong as we can. I think it's I was looking at I was talking with Chris and a couple of the other staff that our starting team on Monday. I think there were 6 players with an average of under 30 league starts in England. That's a good chunk of your team, and a lot of these boys are learning what it is about playing week in, week out in a competitive level and trying to win games. So we're trying to help them find that consistency in their performances, in their approach. But sometimes we'll just dip, and I felt we did that last week, but I'll have to take accountability for that as well. But we always try to improve on the next performance, and that's what we'll try to do.
I was going to say, you talk a lot about obviously trying to stay level, not get too high, too low. But I mean, as you say, human nature, when you've gone through a rut like that, it is very difficult to sort of stay upright and then to bounce back like they have done. It's it's going to be like up and down regardless of how you try and sort of keep on the level.
Yeah, look, that's what life is. That's what football is, and I think for us as professionals, we've always got to remember that we want the players to have emotions, play with emotion and everything, but it's got to be controlled emotion. It's got to be disciplined, and we can't get too high or too low. That's, if we want to be consistent, it starts in your mindset and in your thoughts and putting things into perspective, and not going from to the moon to the depths of the ocean. It's really important for us to, if we want to become that consistent team and consistently perform at a high level, then it does start in our mindset. And the one thing I would give the players real good credit for is how they've come back from those 4 games, because it was a terrible run of games, terrible run of results. But I feel they've shown people that they do care. I think they've shown people that we can we can perform in good spells. We've just got to extend those spells to longer parts of the game, and then obviously from game to game to game, and that's how we have to create this winning formula at Bradford City. So, but like I said, there's a lot of boys in that group, certainly in the match day squad at the moment, that haven't got a wealth of hundreds of games. You know, it's quite a low amount. So we have to help them as much as we can to understand how you train, how you focus, how you prepare for a game, and then obviously how you take your training and everything that you do in the preparation into the heat of a game.
I was going to say, as a player, do you sort of find you perhaps start doubting yourself when you're on a bad run? I mean, how do you sort of pull that round?
Yeah, of course you doubt yourself. I think anyone with an ounce of intelligence would always question what they do. Certainly, if they're not getting the results that they work for or try to get, it's human nature to doubt and question. But that's why it's important to learn about what you're good at and learn how your preparation keeps you on track, how your discipline keeps you on track. Your motivation, all those things, they all come into it. And I think as you gain more experience in your football career, you understand how to prepare for any eventuality. And that's what I've been talking to the players about in the last couple of weeks, because I don't think when we've been punched on the nose in those previous 3 or 4 games, we've fell to the canvas and struggled to get back up. I felt obviously the Tranmere game was a good result for us, but we didn't take the punch on the nose. We did against Grimsby, but we come back well. So that's a sign of improvement. We have to continue that trajectory of improvement day after day, week after week, if we want to be the team that we aspire to be.
Yeah, and going back to David Sharp, Graham, I mean, obviously that dynamic as sort of a manager with a head of football operations, director of football, whatever you want to call this role. I mean, you know, some are very much in favour of it, some aren't so sure. How does it really work so that you're sort of not stepping on each other's toes a little bit?
Well, I think through communication. I think if you're growing up about it and you understand that we're all here to get the same thing and reach the same goals. I've worked with sporting directors of football. I've had 2 at one club, amazingly so, and still managed to create a successful football team at those clubs. So for me, all the roles in football, they all come down to human interaction, and it's not about the actual role. It's about how people get on together. So, assistant manager is seen as a must-have, but if you don't get on with your assistant manager, or he's not good at his job or anything like that, so it's not about the actual role or the job title. It's about actual people working together with a common cause, understanding each other's responsibilities, supporting each other's in their responsibilities. I think that's how a team works, and I'll talk a lot about the team behind the football team, with me and my staff, the medical staff, strength and conditioning, the coaching. It's all about people trying to be heading in the same direction, understanding that, empathy for everyone's roles, and forming a team that creates a better football team to win games. So that's where it is. It's not about the job title. It's not about how it works in a structural level. It's about how grown-ups get on and understand about using their expertise together. I said in January about when you talk about recruitment, it's never down to one person, whether it's the head of recruitment or the manager or the CEO. It's always a group of people, and I feel that's the best way to work. So I think David and his experience and his knowledge will certainly help us in that respect.
And in a way, having a sort of fresh pair of eyes that sort of haven't got the background of being involved with this season might offer a different approach and perhaps a sort of different angle look at things. Yeah,
I believe so. I spoke to David about that yesterday. Obviously I've only been here maybe 5 months or so, and so I came in with fresh eyes, but I've learned a lot each month. It's not always been an identical month, and I think we've gone through different stages of that season, so I've learned a lot about the club and the group of players, and I'm sure David will see it with a fresh pair of eyes, like you say, and even if it's a couple of things that he sees differently from us and gives us an idea of or to think differently about an issue we have or a problem, then that's how that's how we're improving, and that's all we're trying to do.
Cheers, Graham. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
Hi, Graham.
Hi.
Hope you're well, mate. I was just sort of wondering, Daniel, your goalkeeper, spoke to him, really good lad, and he was talking about how you kept in touch with him and on a regular basis, found that really useful. Sort of getting to know the characters of your loan signings, any signings really, doing your homework, getting to know them as people, that seems to be massive for you, and it will be going forward.
Yeah, I think so. I believe it's, Dan was incredibly unfortunate with his injury, in our first game, and it made a really good impression on us in just 2 or 3 days training, and then kept in touch with him because we wanted to bring him back probably sooner than now, but he's come back really fit, really motivated. He's a great professional, really good lad to have around, very adaptable. We really like him as a professional, but first and foremost as a person. I think we have communication with all our players, and not over the top. I think they've got a lot of people to communicate with, but it's important that we understand them, understand their desires, what their ambitions are, and it's important that they know ours. That's the biggest thing. So I kept in contact with Dan because I wanted him to slip back into it really quickly. Not have to regenerate new relationships with everyone. So it's good to have him back. We thought it'd take a bit of time for him to get up to speed, but the way he's looked after himself, he was watching our games from afar even before he came back. So he was every credit to him. But it's been a good timing of him coming back because we've needed him.
Plus with a club like Bradford City as well, so you need ability, but character's massive in any signing. You've got to get the right sort of lads in, haven't you?
I think it's. I don't think it's just unique to Bradford. I think it's football clubs in general. I do. I think there's pressure on all teams to win games, whatever level it is, and character and personality can take you a long way. And the better characters you can have, then your team's going to show that sort of character and personality. And we need that because whatever team you are, you're never going to play well every single week. You're going to have times of drama and negativity, and it's about your character that brings you through it. And I feel Dan has a really good character. He's and he's at the start of his career, and hopefully his spell with us will be a really positive one.
And there's some clubs at this time of year that things wind down, but obviously that you've got a new football operations guy, and if you've got this season cranking up into the next, it seems like you're going to be extremely busy with all sorts of things. You're speaking about meetings, and you're not going to get much of a break really. But I guess knowing you, that's probably what you enjoy. Yeah,
look, it's there's so much more to this role than what the public see, and but I'm used to it. I've been doing it 10 years now, and very rarely I've had more than 10 days off in a summer. It's always been recruitment, trying to work out training grounds and training pitches organised. Make sure absolutely everything is ready for the players coming back in on day one. It's so important that we start off on the right foot in a professional manner and in an ambitious manner. And if you're not prepared, then you put yourself on the back foot. So I know it's difficult sometimes because sometimes I think Bradford maybe have been a victim of that, being in the playoffs last year and having a shorter summer. So if you leave things till the summer, it's too late. You have to start now or even before. We've been organising pre-season friendlies for probably a month to 6 weeks out. So it's good, but it's I'd rather be busy than bored.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to actually find, obviously, you get injuries, impact injuries, you can't do anything about them, but these, the sort of soft tissue ones, niggly ones, it's been about had a few of them at Bradford sort of this season and probably over a few seasons. Is that something that's a bit of a sort of concern you're looking at it and that sort of thing?
Yeah, all things that take players out of the equation to play are some things we try to improve on. I think, look, there's not a football club in the world, and no matter how many millions you spend, does not pick up injuries. It's the type of injuries. You're right. If they're things that are preventable, then you have to try and look at that. But you have to understand that if you train at the right levels, you're going to pick up injuries because some people can't reach those levels or can't maintain them. But we have to train to win. We have to train to win. It's not just about being available. We have to train at a certain level that forms a team that can go all the way 50 games a season. So these are things, but so many things go into a player's fitness levels, and it's his history. It's sometimes it's just the athlete. Recruiting the right athletes. Looking after them, pushing them hard, training pitches, all those things. They all come into the equation of keeping players fit. And the best thing is the players' own work ethic and discipline. For me, they train at the right levels. They eat the right things. They drink the right things. They sleep. That is a massive chunk of it. So there's a lot of the time it's player education that will help the issues as well. So we'll look at every aspect to try and make sure we don't have another season like we have, because there has been too many for anyone's liking, to be fair.
Yeah. Thanks for your time as ever, Graham. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Yes.
Hi, Graham. Graham, you mentioned there about being in the job for a few months now, and you mentioned about that first window there in January, and obviously you brought in back Tyreek Rice after a successful loan the previous season. In terms of that, were you made aware by the scouts, or did you watch some videos, or were you aware of Tyreek's performances the year previous with Bradford, or is it normal for clubs to go back in for a player that's previously done well on a loan, and was it hard to convince him to come to you again for the second time around?
That's a long question, that one.
Yeah.
So, no, I think... just along the normal recruitment lines. I think what it was, the first thing we had to do was try and get the numbers down to a manageable level, because they were too big before January. So we managed to do that. We felt defensively we were in a good place as a team. I felt we had struggled to score the amount of goals we needed to be successful. So we identified what we needed. So it was first of all, what does this squad look like? We weren't just, he's available, let's take him. We had to look at players or look at the squad, and look at the team and say, right, we need this, and right, who is out there to help us bring these certain skill sets to our team and our club. So we brought, obviously we were adamant we were bringing Jake Young back, which was a big one for us. We brought in Callum Kavanagh, and we brought back Tyreek Rice. So I spoke about having people with mobility and pace and a goal threat. So they were the sort of things that I spoke to Ryan and Stephen about, and then we set about trying to find those certain individuals, and there was more. Obviously, there was a lot more than the three that we did sign. And obviously we had to replace Harry Lewis, who moved on, and we brought in Sam Walker. So, but I didn't want to have a massive turnover of player. I think January window is a really difficult window. I think we were quite disciplined in what we wanted to do, because we felt we had to trim the numbers down to then give the squad the opportunity to perform. And but unfortunately with Tyreek, he got injured in his first game. Came back, scored 2 against Accrington, got injured in that game. So it's been a difficult time for Tyreek, but he's training well at the moment, so hopefully he's back up to match fitness.
And Graham, when you sign loan players in January, do you look at them for maybe a short-term view towards the end of the season, or is there even a possibility of a long-term interest in terms of that when you look at a loan signing, or does every loan signing have different scenarios attached to it?
Yeah, they're all different. I think look, there's some players that we don't know about their parent club's long-term ambitions for that player, whether they might be available in the summer, or they've got high hopes for them in their club and they just send them out for experience. So they're all different scenarios. If there's an opportunity for us to do anything with a couple of loan players, then we will certainly be having those discussions going forward from between now and the end of the season. But all the loans are in different sort of aspects and different scenarios around them. But the biggest thing is, can they help us try and win games? And that's what we try to do in January.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about that sort of 10-day madness in March that really sort of upset your sort of season in terms of that sort of push for the playoffs, and when you're in that sort of bad bubble, as I say, in terms of a manager, when you're in that sort of, when things seem to be hitting the fan, as the saying goes, with those 5 games, is it really hard to see inside out? Is it hard to put a figure on where things are just disintegrating so fast until you get out of that bubble and you turn the other corner, and then you can see, oh well, maybe it was a certain thing there that's what caused that run of form?
Yeah, well, we try to break it down to individual games. So it's, after the first defeat, we broke it down to, right, what did we do that brought that game, that result on, and then we try to correct it for the next one. But games can turn on moments, and what we've found in those games is we certainly the first one against Forest Green, we conceded after 50 seconds or something, put ourselves on the back foot. I think we had about 80% possession for the rest of the game, and we just couldn't break them down. It was very difficult, as you can see with other teams that do that. And then obviously we came up against Mansfield and Notts County, who the highest scoring teams in the division. It just became a little perfect storm over that time. But what we tried to do when we kept the Harrogate game was the biggest one for us, because we, it just wasn't a performance we wanted to be a part of. That was it. And so we actually, we just spoke to the players on the next day in training, and we tried to settle everybody down. We didn't try to sweep anything under the carpet, but we did. I just don't want any group of players or staff to just look back and mope and moan and groan without trying to do something about it. That's it. I think the best thing to do in any of these scenarios is try to find what we can do better, and then try and put an action plan in place. So we're actually doing something to make it better, rather than just wishing it or just hoping or just bitching and whinging about what's gone on before. I think the most important thing is having a proactive mindset. Right, these are the issues. How do we overcome them? How do we improve upon them? Let's put them into practice. I think the players have tried to take that on board. We are not going to go from that group of games to a perfect team performance week in, week out. It doesn't happen that quickly. But the players and the team have shown good progress in the last 2 games to come out of that little black hole we were in for. And it was 2 weeks. That's the thing. It was like quick succession. It wasn't like a month to 6 weeks of bad form. We were the second highest in the form table before those 2 weeks, and those 4 games really knocked the stuffing out of what we could potentially achieve, I felt. But the players have shown a good response in the last 2 games, and I think the supporters have responded to that as well. Certainly after the last 2 games, I think they've shown their appreciation to the team. And the only way we can ever achieve anything is everyone is trying to support each other through thick and thin, through good times and bad times. Everyone can have their opinions on what we could do better. I understand that, and I respect that gravely. But when we get onto that pitch or we get into that stadium, everyone has to be on the same boat if we can be. But our responsibility is to invite the fans onto that boat by playing and perform in a way that justifies their support.
And final question from me, Graham. In terms of motivation now on the field for the end of the season, we know all the good stuff going off the field in terms of Bradford City at the moment. Is it really, are you setting the targets now? Is it up the war chart, or is it top 10 finish? Is that the realistic, the aim for Bradford City to get inside that sort of top 10? I mean, that's points wise, that's a realistic target. I suppose financially, finishing higher up the table, where you finish obviously gives you a net sort of reward as well in terms of that. So is that the real incentive now, to finish inside that top 10 maybe for the end of the season? I
think that for me, our incentive is to show people that we're serious about winning, we're serious about making this club a better club. That we want to repay people's faith. We want them to be a part of this. It's all on the emotional and side for me, that they see a team that they can be potentially proud of in the future. We haven't been successful in what the club set out in the last summer. I don't think that will be achieved this season. Could be torn out of place, but let's be honest. But there's still things that we can show that in the future we can create a successful team here. The players, the staff, myself. That for me is that there's always a pride of how you handle yourself, win, lose, draw, in how you act, how you aspire to be in the future. And we're trying to, hopefully in the next few games, we will give people the belief that things are better in the future and there are good things to come.